Full range of motion is the norm. In no way, shape or form you should deviate from the norm. If you do a half rep, then you do things wrong. Half repping is just a reduction of the range of motion. Is a reduction of the range of motion necessarily bad or counterproductive? Fitness content is targeted to human nature, and our nature tends to like certainty. Certainty many times means the loss of nuance or middle grounds. Because certainty many times means dramatizing things, people are attracted to content that make things seem worse than they really are, or better than they really are. And I think half repping is a victim of our nature. Half repping is simply a reduction of the range of motion. And like any change in our training methods, it has positives and negatives, basically trade-offs. Half repping can be used as an intensity technique or physical therapy. It can even be used with resistance profiles in mind, or even to target a specific group of muscles in a compound exercise. But before going further to the methods, I want to clarify that I don't want to put half repping as a standard in your training. With this video, I simply want to show the possible uses with half repping, the positives that people don't see. Half repping can be used as an intensity technique. Intensity techniques are modifications in the way you do your set to increase the time under tension and proximity to failure. Intensity in this definition means failure. You might not have heard about the word intensity technique, but the techniques are really popular. Supersets, drop sets, rest pause. Basically, to do an intensity technique, you reach close to failure or failure, and then the next step is to do the intensity technique. In the case of half repping, you first reach failure or close to failure with full reps, and then reach failure again through half reps. You can feel a lot of your muscles in those half reps, and adding half reps after your full reps definitely will make the sets way more challenging. Intensity techniques not only increase time under tension and make you reach failure most often, but they also add more volume to your workouts and it can compress your volume. Let's say you did 4 sets with one intensity technique each set. After doing the 4 sets, you were going to do another exercise, but because you did intensity techniques, you feel as if the volume you did was enough. Intensity techniques are great in calisthenics because many progressions, which are ways to progressive overload in calisthenics, are harsh transitions. Going from a standard push-up to a one-arm push-up is a harsh transition, and it is a variation that changes the push-up a lot. You might not want to do a one-arm push-up because it simply requires more joint conditioning and strength, and you might be saving it for the handstand push-up, for example. In that case, doing standard push-ups and similar variations with intensity techniques might be better, and half repping can be used as an intensity technique. I have injured myself many times, and without any sort of half repping, I would probably not have healed my injuries. Most injuries mean that you lose a certain degree of function in that specific joint. Losing function means both losing strength, losing range of motion. Losing range of motion means that you might not be able to do exercises you were able to do in the past. My most recent injury was a shoulder injury that lasted for around 6 to 5 months. It made shoulder flexion at a really extended shoulder position too hard, meaning dips hurt, and the deep range of motion of push-ups also hurt. The top part of the pull-up also hurt. In this case, using half reps with that injury in mind can help you a lot. Simply avoiding the range of motion that causes you trouble and pain basically means that you are not only able to exercise with that injury, and therefore inevitably in the path of recovery, but also that you can try to gradually challenge yourself with half reps and light loads to recover the strength and range of motion that was lost. You cannot really recover the range of motion and strength unless you are actively trying to. Muscles and joints are only healthy when they can do their purpose. Therefore, rest and sedentarism probably will not lead to a complete joint function and quality of life recovery, at least in my experience. If the injury limits your range of motion, it makes sense to do half reps instead of nothing. Resistance profiles is how the tension varies during the range of motion, or at least that is the intuitive definition. In reality, it has to do with torque, physics, and levers. But instead of explaining all of that, let's just keep going with the intuitive definition. Not all exercises have an equal resistance profile. This simply means that the load travels differently through space. If the load travels in a straight line, it is a linear resistance profile, meaning that the tension or difficulty really doesn't change during the range of motion. In the case of calisthenics, to know how the resistance profile changes, we must look at the center of mass. A push-up is a straight line resistance profile. The center of mass travels linearly. A complete front lever raise is a bell curve. The center of mass travels like a bell. A bell curve resistance profile means that the beginning has a little tension, the middle has the most tension, and the end has a little tension. In other words, the tension is uneven throughout the range of motion. Now, theoretically, we could use half reps to only focus on the part where there is the most tension in a bell curve resistance profile exercise. However, there is no point in doing that in a complete front lever raise because it is already really difficult. Focusing only in the middle will drastically reduce our capacity to do reps and sets. By reducing the range of motion in half, you can reduce the amount of time you are in the middle and therefore increase the amount of volume you can do in a front lever raise. Technically, you could also find exercises where the end is harder and try to do half reps in the harder range of motion. Ranges of motion sometimes not only mean that the tension varies, but also the muscles targeted or demanded in an exercise. By feeling alone, we know that in a parallel bar dip, the top part targets more of the triceps, whereas the bottom part targets a bit more of the chest. The deeper we go, the stretched the chest becomes, and stretched muscles are weaker than flexed muscles. This is virtually the same in a close grip push-up. Understanding that not only the tension varies, but also the demand of a muscle varies during a range of motion, can allow us to use half reps to maybe target a specific muscle more than the other in a compound exercise. This is partially why you see prisoners doing bottom half rep push-ups, because they themselves concluded intuitively that they can target more of the chest by reducing the range of motion that involves more of the triceps, basically skipping the top part. You can also apply this to the top part of a pull-up to target slightly more the real delts and the scapula muscles, and maybe a bit more of the traps. I personally wouldn't spam this, but use half reps as intensity techniques. Half repping is a reduction of the range of motion, and opposed to a lot of reductive fitness content, everything has its positives and negatives. To choose is to trade something for something else. Therefore, half repping is a tool, and seeing half repping as something wrong is wrong itself. Half repping can be used as an intensity technique, or physical therapy, or with resistance profiles in mind, or to try to increase demand of a specific muscle in a compound exercise.